Good evening. Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night, 10 p.m. here, Eastern Time in Long Island, New York. This is our WWE Summerslam Post show. And boy, do we got a lot to talk about today. So, for those of you guys that are in here currently, stay with us. We're waiting for a couple people to come in. But we're going to talk WWE SummerSlam in just a couple moments. But first, I need to introduce somebody, a friend of mine. We go way back. I would say back into maybe high school days of when we worked together, and it's definitely an honor and pleasure to have him on today. Introducing, we got Greg joining us today. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Wayne. Yeah, we go way back. I think since I was 14 years old at McDonald's. So pleasure to be here today.
Yes, that's 1998, right
1998.
about
Yeah,
there,
right,
right about there.
right in the middle of the Attitude Era. So that's definitely one of the greatest times of wrestling. So
Funny thing is, a fun fact about this show, Jay Diaz, you remember Jay Diaz? He helped put a lot of this together. Like everything that you see here and that you've seen over the past couple of years with intro music, the StreamYard, the podcast, he helped put a lot of that together. So he really built this, and me and a bunch of people just ran with this for a couple of years. Now we're in our fourth year now doing this.
yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I remember Jay, and I remember one time going to a wrestling event with you and Jay at the Nassau Coliseum. I think it was either a house show or a Monday Night Raw. Long time ago.
Garden, Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, and if I could call correctly, DX was definitely there. Um, X Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, Steve Austin may have been there. I can't remember the matches, but it was in that timeline.
That's
But
awesome, and it's SummerSlam's my favorite show because my first wrestling event I ever went to was SummerSlam '91. Match made in heaven, match made in hell at Madison Square Garden with my older sisters.
wow, how old were you then?
I was 6 years old, and I just all I can remember. I'd love to lie and say I remember Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect because I wish I did remember that. But the only thing I remember was the Big Boss Man versus the Mountie, and the loser goes to prison. And I just remember the Mountie yelling as he's taken in handcuffs by the NYPD, uh, yelling that they can't do this to him. So that is the one thing I remember about that show.
Nice. I mean, that was definitely had some like the main event of that show was a little underwhelming, but one of the key highlights of that show was definitely Brett versus Mr. Perfect Intercontinental title match, which is basically talked about as one of the greatest IC matches of all time at a SummerSlam. And then you had the match made in heaven, match made in hell. So that was kind of memorable, whether it be good or bad. But yeah, that was live at Madison Square Garden. But yeah, SummerSlam is one of my favorite events of the year. I think, in my opinion, the second biggest event of the year. You got WrestleMania, and then 4 or 5 months later, SummerSlam. It gives us a break, and then we got Survivor Series um, in about 3 months from now. Um, so Survivor Series is not going to be booked like it was the past couple of years. Like we had a great Survivor Series under Triple H's regime in 2022, and I expect nothing less in 2023. So Survivor Series is going to be now meaningful. Royal Rumble, then Mania. So it's just an ongoing cycle. Absolutely love it. Um, Almost feels like Christmas in July, although we are in the beginning of August, but we are just coming off the heels of July. So yeah, Christmas time in the summer. SummerSlam was great, one of my favorite events. But yes, so a good show. But I gotta talk to you guys about my Detroit experience really quick. Um, First off, uh, me and a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, we went, and everything worked out as far as plane flights go. And um, I'm not a fan of getting up early. I am not a morning person, Greg, by any means. I like on a work day, I get up at 8:15. If I'm off, I get up at 9:30. That's how it is. So it's been for a long time. But we, I don't know. When we booked this, I was just so tired, and I was basically saying yes to pretty much anything. So a buddy of mine recommended, hey, let's, we could do a nonstop, but the only nonstop flights that were available from LaGuardia to it was from LaGuardia to Detroit, but it was 7 a.m. leave time, 6 a.m. Sorry, 6 a.m. leave time Thursday morning. Get in there. We got there by 7 o'clock, which was great. We had the whole day Thursday, but we lost the night's sleep. I lost the night's sleep. I only got 2 hours sleep that night. Coming home, the flight this morning was 7 a.m. out of Detroit to get to LaGuardia. Mind you, SummerSlam did not end, and I was thinking it was going to end at like 11:30. SummerSlam did not end until 12:15, maybe 12:20, because the main event was dragging and what have you. We'll get into that. Getting out of Ford Field was another. It took us about 45 minutes. So I didn't step foot into my hotel room until 1:45 this morning. The alarm was set for 3:30. Got up. So that's not even 2 hours sleep. I probably got a solid hour of sleep in that time between the time I walked in the hotel room, lights were out by 2, alarm was off at 3:30. Got in the shower quick. We were out of there by 4 a.m. on time. Still had to drop the car off. We still had to take the shuttle from the airport. I'm sorry, from the rental car to the airport. We got to the hotel around 5 a. I'm sorry, we got to the airport around 5 a.m. From there, we took off at 7 a.m. We arrived back in LaGuardia at 8:30. Me, Greg, you know how I am. You know how I post things about church and all that stuff. Went right to church in Comac. Um, so I get home finally at 1 o'clock. Laid my head down for an hour. No, I got home at 1:30 today in the afternoon. Finally got home at 1:30. I laid my head down for an hour. I get a text. Hey, wait, let's go out. So I went out, enjoyed the day today. Lots of coffee was flowing through my body today. I promise you that. But it was just like the event didn't end until 12:30, and we were on a plane by 7 a.m. I will never ever, like, in hindsight, I'm glad it worked out the way it did, but I will never ever book a flight to go back home and leave that early in the morning. Like, I just need my night's sleep. The city of Detroit was okay. There was nothing to do. Like, there maybe one little tourist area on the riverfront, which is nice. Detroit's got some restaurants, but me and a buddy of mine, like, what are we gonna do? They got a
I know
couple
there's
of
a
museums.
casino there. That's
There
about it.
is a casino, like a Motor City casino. I don't even know if it's active. I didn't even have a password because it expired. How the heck the last 10 years went by since I did my last passport? Like, I don't know how that happened, but so that we could have gone into took a day trip into Canada, but that was out of the question. Um, so yeah, there was nothing to do in Detroit. We went to the Tigers game. We had a blast. That was my 22nd stadium. Beautiful stadium. And Greg, as you mentioned earlier before we went on the air, very clean, pretty clean city. I wasn't paying attention to the cleanliness of the city at the time, but in hindsight and thinking about it, a very very clean city. But the problem is there was nothing to do there. Nothing to do. No high rise buildings to go up. No bridges to walk. Um, no attractions. I mean, thank God we had the events. So getting back to this morning, thank God in a way we booked ourselves to take a flight back home to LaGuardia, because had we stayed in Detroit all day, It would have been a wasted day. What would have we done in Detroit? There was really nothing there. There really wasn't. The city let me down. Thank God I live near New York City. A lot of things to do. You have some good places by you. I love the city of Boston. I love the city of Seattle. I love Chicago. But Detroit, unless you're going there with purpose like we did for SummerSlam, there is nothing to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking about you waking up this morning, and part of me is like, I wonder if you toyed with the idea of just going straight to the airport and going to sleep in the airport rather than going back and sleeping for an hour. Maybe if you were 10, 15 years younger, you would have went that
Oh,
route.
absolutely. Like I was thinking about that, and the buddy of mine who I was with was like, we should have just left from Ford Field and go straight to the Detroit airport and just sleep there. But then my issue would have been like, what the heck am I going to sleep on? So we
You're gonna lay
basically
across
went
the
to our
chairs.
we basically went to our hotel, got back at 1:45 because of the traffic and everything in the morning. We basically took a 1 to 2 hour nap and then checked out. So it was kind of like almost like a wasted night. Like we could have saved money on one night by going straight to the airport. But yeah, somebody here. It doesn't show me on my end, but commented you should have stayed up all night. But listen, you're right. I got an hour sleep at the hotel and maybe about 1 hour of sleep on the plane. And I did hear about this Greek town. Somebody was telling me about it. And I know there's a Eastern market in Detroit for food and stuff like that. But other than that, there was nothing happening in Detroit. The city was empty. We got there on a Thursday afternoon. New York City is packed. Boston's packed. Chicago's booming. Detroit, the city was empty. I got to everywhere, point A to point B, so quick, within minutes, had no trouble getting around, took my time, messing around my GPS, nobody beeping at me. Greg, so I had not one person beeping at me the whole entire time. For the 3 days I was there, I'd be on my phone, trying to figure out where the heck am I going, driving slow at times, people behind me. Not one person beeped at me. I get back to LaGuardia. I get out of there because I don't use LaGuardia. I hate LaGuardia. I use JFK. And I got people beeping at me right away. That's how you know you're back in New York. Oh, boy. So that's my event of my Detroit experience. But anyhow, a pretty decent weekend. I would have preferred to sleep a little bit longer. I'm tired today. My eyes are whatever. But here we are talking about SummerSlam.
And
Normally
the
we would
actual
have done
the
this last night.
and the actual stadium though, Ford Field. What did you think of that? Because I remember when I went to WrestleMania 23 there, I thought it was a really nice stadium, Ford Field. Like I like how it was built into a valley, and you kind of walk down into your seats when you walk in, because you're not at you're kind of at the higher upper level when you walk into the stadium. So, but I thought it was really nice. I don't know what your thoughts are.
So I was at WrestleMania 23 too, and Ford Field was pretty nice, very nice concourse. Um, I have no complaints about Ford Field. In fact, I went to the original Pontiac Silverdome in 1999 for a non-sports related event. I would have loved to. I would have loved to like if they would have kept that stadium. To be honest, I like throwback stadiums. I wish I could visit old stadiums such as Boston Garden. Some old retro places that exist that used to exist but no longer do because of new stadiums. Ford Field's very nice though. Located in a good area, clean area, um, easy to walk around. Actually, I felt the concourses were a little tight. Um, but other than that, good stadium. Can't complain. But anyway, yesterday we had SummerSlam, and the biggest party of the summer that they call it, and it went on for about 4.5 hours long. Ended at 12:15. I'm gonna watch it. You got the you got the TV experience. I got the live experience. So there's definitely gonna be two very different perspectives here. Some most of which is gonna match up. Um, but overall, before we go match by match, what did you think of the event?
I thought it started off really strong. That opening match between Logan Paul and Ricochet, I thought was probably about as good as I thought it was going to be, as far as like thinking ahead. And then I thought the second match, Brock and Cody, exceeded my expectations. So I was really excited when those first two matches went down. I was thinking this is going to be one of the better SummerSlams ever. And then I thought it kind of fell for a little bit, and then picked back up with the Finn Balor match versus Seth Rollins. And then we'll talk about the main event as we get in. So overall, I think mixed. But if I had to say whether it's a thumbs up show, thumbs in the middle, or thumbs down, I'd say thumbs up just for a couple of the good matches that kind of carried it.
I would say that the pacing was pretty good. It was booked, started off high, then it came low, then it came back up high, and then the main event match itself had its highs and lows, which we are gonna talk about for sure. But generally, a pretty good show. So let's start it off. You mentioned it before. Were you at SummerSlam 2002 Nassau Coliseum?
Yes, for Rock and Brock.
Yes. Okay. So, if I recall correctly, that opening match was Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio. So this match, Logan Paul Ricochet, I would say comes very close and arguably just as good. Some people are going to say better. You know, some may say it's going to come pretty close. Um, First off, the pay per view started pretty hot, and man, the fans were excited, especially like chanting "LA Night" all night. But we'll get to that. Ricochet and Logan Paul, this match delivered. It had to go on first because Jake Paul was main eventing, and that main event started after midnight. So if Logan Paul got on first, ends by 8:30. The match went about a half hour or a little less, 17 minutes. But by the time Logan Paul and Ricochet got done, it was after 8:30. Um, he had to get on a plane to get to Dallas right away and see his brother. So there was a good amount of time for that to happen, as it was it's like a 3 hour flight from Detroit to Dallas. So he had plenty of time to get down there. Supposedly, Logan Paul showed up on was on the pay per view spotted with a black eye of some sort. But anyhow, what did you think of this match? I felt like it delivered. The expected winner here, predicted Logan Paul to win this because he hasn't gotten a win on any PLE yet. I don't think this really hurts Ricochet to take the loss here. They had a banger of the match, and also I love this storytelling at the end where Ricochet's girlfriend was it Samantha Irvin? Okay,
Yeah,
uh,
the,
or
the commentator.
fiance rather, did it was so pissed off that she had to announce the winner is Logan Paul. So, what are your thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, no, I agree. It kind of met the expectations that I had. Ricochet, I have a soft spot for him. Years ago, I don't remember the exact year. It had to be around 2012, 2013. I was at a local show in Ronkonkoma, Long Island, and Ricochet was there with a mask, young, early in his career. And it was a small building. There was maybe about 50 people at most there, and there was a support beam right in the middle, and Ricochet scaled the beam up to the top and jumped onto the ring from this support beam. And ever since then, I was impressed with what the guy could do because I just couldn't believe how quickly he scaled up. It had to be in about 4 seconds. He climbed up to the top. And from Logan Paul, I don't remember anybody with as little experience as him that just gets it. like as far as just his mannerisms. I love the old school brass knucks. Putting them in the trunks finish for the match. So I thought this was pretty good finish. And I agree with you. It elevates Ricochet because they really weren't doing much with him before. And at the same time with Logan Paul, he kind of needed a win because I'm sure they're paying him a lot of money, and he's probably going to move on to another big match at either probably Survivor Series or the Rumble.
So you don't think with Payback being 1 month away, do you think that this will be on the card as a rematch for Ricochet wanting payback for his loss against Logan Paul? You think that's a possibility in your opinion? I don't know anything, but what do you think?
Possible. I don't know. If that's where they'll go, because he did use the brass knucks, so that could set up no
Feuded.
no DQ type match. So yeah, that makes sense if that's where they'll go,
So
and it
you
wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to see them again.
no, I mean we've only seen them once together. I don't want to see it overdone, but keep in mind there is payback pay-per-view coming up next month, and to me that sounds like possible rematches, or that could we did see a couple miscarriages of injustice yesterday, with people interfering, which kind of sets up for next month's pay-per-view, which we'll talk about. um but yes, the brass knucks, that was a pretty cool spot. Did it behind the ref's back. He had to cheat, so it doesn't hurt Ricochet too much. But Ricochet is in need of a win at some point, a big win. He is elevating as he speak. He needs to work on his mic work more.
Agreed, and I think they can go back to this, but they also have some interesting opponents. And we'll talk about Brock later. Staying babyface, and I think like if you go down the road, maybe you could do Logan Paul and Brock in an interesting match down the road. So
I would love to see Logan Paul take an F5.
yeah, and I think the fans would definitely be behind Brock in that, and then also I could see going back to Seth as the champion. So since they already did that as well. So they could see Logan Paul going back to Seth. But I agree with you. They may move right back to Ricochet since it was the brass knucks for the finish and either a no DQ or some type of gimmick match.
And maybe they'll move on from it. And just, but they easily could revisit it if they want to. Um, but moving on, we had a much anticipated, one of the more anticipated matches. To be honest with you, I really don't know what these guys were feuding about, because there was really no story told about why Brock Lesnar has been attacking Cody Rhodes all these months. I didn't listen to the commentary yesterday. I'm gonna go back and watch SummerSlam to see if they really explained it. I do know that a couple months ago, when this feud started, it was about a week after WrestleMania, the week after Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes. Um, I believe it was Kevin Patrick went on saying, or Corey Graves went on to say that Brock was pissed that Cody took his spot for WrestleMania. It was really quick. They never expounded on it. So outside of that, I don't know what Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes were really truly feuding about these past couple months. They had a couple good matches, and they did the trilogy. But my question is, what were these guys feuding about? Like, why should I have been invested into this for 3 months without a reason to be invested into it? There was not much of a story about this feud. What's your take on it?
I mean, it's almost the feud was the story in this one since it was 1-1. So that was I didn't really they didn't really I don't think the announcers, I may have missed it, but they didn't really expand on it too much as far as why the initial feud happened. But it was one versus one. This was the rubber match in the series. That was kind of they were just focused on this one. As far as just taking this match alone, I think it was their best of the three that they had, And I actually heard in the press conference afterwards, which was interesting, that Brock, after the press conference after SummerSlam, that wasn't part of the script as far as Brock giving the handshake to Cody after the match and embracing Cody. That was Brock doing that on the fly, according to Triple H. So I thought that was pretty interesting for him to, because it really helped Brock too. Because I don't know if you could speak to it being live, but on TV it sounded like the crowd really got behind Brock for doing that, for giving the handshake, and it seemed like the crowd was really popping for him as he was walking back. So I don't know if that was the same live, but on TV that's how it looked.
The crowd was behind the moment for sure. It was a good moment, but it doesn't make sense how we go from Brock Lesnar breaking breaking Cody Rhodes' arm and attempting to rip his arm off numerous times in front of his family, humiliating him, beating after beating, chair shots after chair shots for weeks on end, and all of a sudden they're shaking hands and hugging in the ring.
He earned his
It was a
respect.
good moment. It was a good moment. But at the same time, like, you know, um,
Hey, we went from the Rock.
I'm hugging somebody who almost ripped my arm off.
We went from Hogan trying to kill The Rock with the monster truck to them hugging at WrestleMania. So
This is
sometimes
true.
it is,
This is so
but
true.
I think as far as just the I don't know if the crowd thought, but just watching at home, I actually thought that I fell for the false finish of the countout when after he gave him the F5 on the outside, and I actually thought that they were. I was thinking in my mind they're going to do a 10 count here. The crowd's going to boo, and then they're going to build to another match. And so they kind of got me in that spot. I wouldn't have liked that finish at all, but I just thought for a second that was going to be the finish. I don't know if the crowd live actually bought that as a false finish, but
Um, they were into it. Like they popped each time, especially the last time Cody Rhodes uh got into the ring, just beating that 10 count by this much. So the crowd was eating that up.
yeah, and just I think as far as like over delivered to my expectations of it, and I mean I think as far as like going forward, it sets Cody up for whatever his next feud is. I heard rumblings. I don't know if it's true, but maybe Orton, if he can get cleared to come back, that could be the next match for Cody. But I think it definitely elevates him if he's gonna go back against Reigns at WrestleMania for the title. If that's the direction they're headed.
Yeah, I've heard rumblings of Orton too, but he still has to get cleared. Randy Orton was definitely in town for sure. I also heard rumblings of Bray Wyatt. So I would expect starting tomorrow we'll get the answer as to where they're going with Cody Rhodes' next feud. And the way Triple H books feuds sometimes he likes to do the trilogy style. We've seen it on NXT many times. Um, so if that's the case, we're looking at no more than one or two more feuds before Royal Rumble for Cody, and then we'll touch on that later. But we're getting into the fall season here, so you figure one or two more feuds, and that's about it. Anyhow, the next match that we had. So this was another match. There was nothing on the line here. It was very predictable. We had the Slim Jim Battle Royal. Rumors are flying that probably as early as tomorrow, LA Knight should be getting his elevation of a push, so to speak. Um, so I would have thought that maybe that this battle royal would be for like a number one contender or something to that effect. Or something on the line, like a bucket of Slim Jims or something. Anyhow, so
Yeah,
LA Knight gets the win. It was very exciting, eliminating Sheamus. So that's a little graphic for that match. So what did you think?
I'll start off by saying whoever made that video package, the Slim Jim advertisement, putting Macho Man in the advertisement. I thought that was great. That ad. I don't know if they showed it live, but I actually thought it was great. Nobody's a better pitch person for Slim Jim than Macho Man, so I thought it was cool. And as far as battle royals go, I've seen better. I've seen worse. Seemed like it was just
It was very
okay.
predictable.
I mean, you knew they were going to do the old school spot where 10 people gang up and throw the big man out of the rumble, so you knew that was coming. So it was interesting to see people how far people have fallen. To see some of them in the battle royal that you wouldn't have expected to see. I mean, you see AJ Styles in a battle royal in a SummerSlam, but yeah, I'm sure they'll heat him up again soon. So overall, it was just there, but the right guy won, and I agree with you. They could have at least made it for number one contender spot. I mean, why not put it for? I mean, he didn't win the U.S. title. Number one contenders tournament they had, but why not just put it for the U.S. title and then he could be the next challenger for Austin Theory after that. So I agree with you. It should have been for something.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to do some number one contender matches just to kind of get it all to make sense again. Speaking of Austin Theory, he'll have his match against Santos Escobar this Friday. I would not be surprised if Theory does lose. WWE loves Santos Escobar. I think they want to get a Latino champion in there for a little while. It'll be a nice little rub for the LWO. Some people have felt that Austin Theory's run has fallen flat lately. Well, of course it's going to fall flat if you're not booking him to wrestle. So, anyway, I have noticed little inconsistencies of Austin Theory not being on a show or not getting a match. Um, he was always on TV almost every week, but where has he been lately? He hasn't been on TV much. So there's been a little bit of inconsistency lately. So no wonder why, people are saying Austin Theory like falling off. Well, he's got to be booked better. That's just how it is.
I'm wondering if Grayson Waller is surpassing him in their eyes because it seems to me like with his elevation, I don't know, the timing just maybe a coincidence, but they look similar to each other. They both
Yeah.
have, I think, a similar type of personality. So I don't know if that's the case, but since Waller's been getting, and it was surprising, Waller and Austin Theory were also thrown in that battle royal too. I was
Yeah.
kind of surprised that they were in that battle
Yeah.
royal, but
The Miz was in there. It was just like it was meant. The purpose of it was to give something for LA Knight to start building a little momentum there. But getting back to LA Knight, the fans, man, LA Knight's yeah chant, LA Knight yeah, it is so over. Like I wouldn't believe. Like you may have even heard it on TV, with the fans cheering it. But fans in the hallway, everybody's like LA Knight, yeah. Everyone's doing it, yeah, non-stop. Everywhere you turn, you could be at the bar, you could be in the side street, you could be in the concourse, in the stadium. Like this is the LA Knight is legitimately over. I had to see it for myself, and there was no better place to judge how over he was than in Detroit, the first pay per view on U.S. soil since WrestleMania. We got these hot crowds in London, Puerto Rico, but here we are in Detroit. SummerSlam, LA Knight was freaking over. He had a monster pop on Friday night. I mean, you got to strike while the pan is hot with this guy for sure. A lot of rock tendencies here. What do you think?
no, I completely agree. He's and I went to SmackDown a couple weeks ago in Orlando, and the one when he was fighting in that triple threat match that he lost for the U.S. title, and I couldn't believe how over he was in person. So I agree with you. You have to strike while the iron's hot, and he's got to at least challenge for a title. If it's the U.S. title, if he gets drafted to another brand and goes up for the Intercontinental against Gunter, but the draft just happened, so that wouldn't be for a while. So I'm hoping he goes for the U.S. title, or even put him up for the for Rollins' title, if that's the case. So I mean, I think now that Finn Balor lost. I think we'll get to that in a moment, but opens up a contender spot for at least the next pay per view. So I mean, I agree with you completely. He definitely has a lot of the Rock's tendencies, and he's getting a pop that few have gotten in a long time in the WWE. So they should definitely go with him right now.
Yeah, I think LA Knight would be better suited for Raw at the moment because right now he's on SmackDown. Roman Reigns ain't losing that title for a long time. We'll get
No,
to that in a second. Gunther, he ain't losing that title for at least another month or so. So maybe you could start a program leading into Survivor Series, heat up LA Knight for the next couple months, and have LA Knight get a win at Survivor Series and see what he does there. But yes, um, L- L- I feel like LA Knight could probably grow more on Raw. You have the world title there, Seth Rollins, and you got Austin Theory with the U.S. title. I think there's a little bit more flexibility there on Raw as opposed to on SmackDown as far as getting them a mid card title. Uh, in my opinion, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
no, the U.S.
Let me
belt's on.
backtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah, U.S. title is on SmackDown, so you can go that route with Austin Theory absolutely for sure. You gotta do a number one contenders match. Let's see what they do with Santos Escobar and Austin Theory first. Um, but I don't know what the exact plan is there. Gunther on Raw, the IC title. Again, I don't think there's going to be any plans for him to lose the title for at least another couple months. But again, LA Knight's on SmackDown. Um, until Roman Reigns loses that title, um, it's going to be hard. You gotta get Austin Theory. It looks like the U.S. title will be the best option for him there.
or Dominic's opened up that door to go to NXT. You could, I mean, I don't think they're going to do it, but you could always have him go to NXT and win the NXT belt and have him bring that on SmackDown. Uh, since Dominic's kind of opened up that door that it could happen, but I think the easiest thing to do is probably just have him go for the U.S. belt.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'd be the best option too. All right. Our next match is this is where we talked about how the show start hot and then it came down a little bit. We'll tell you why. We have Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler, and I got a question for you in a second. Um, but a couple things that we do know: Ronda Rousey is on the way out. She's done. She's not going to be back in WWE for a minute, or it may even be permanent. She's going to go home, focus on her family, maybe pop out another kid. Who knows? But she's going to spend time with the family. She has not resigned another contract. So Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey did the right thing, putting over Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler wins. But here's my question to you. Um, did they at all explain the rules of this MMA rules match yesterday during the pay?
They did explain them, but it still was not. If you're going to advertise, this was a very weird MMA rule style match. I mean, there were ref stoppages during it that they didn't really explain that part of it. So if you watch UFC at all and you see these ref stoppages, you're like, that should be the end of the match. There was a ref stoppage that came in, and when ref jumped in for Baszler, and it was. I mean, this to me was I was really worried about the show going off with this. It sounded like, at least for watching it on pay per view, like the crowd just really buried this one. I think the confusion. I mean, if I felt like they were going to do an actual octagon where they were going to have like an octagon on like the front part of the ramp. I think they had done that a long time ago with Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock, maybe, and that's what I thought. So I was like, I thought that would be pretty cool to have it, it's make them stand out, have it be in an octagon on the side. But I just think these two would have had a much better match if it was just a regular wrestling match. And I mean, look, to Ronda's credit, she did tap out, put her friend Baszler over. So, hopefully they do something with Baszler now that she made Ronda tap. I mean, that was the first time Ronda tapped in her entire run in WWE. So it was, impressive to have her tap there, but it would have been a lot more impressive if it was a good match to have her tap there. So
Yeah, so the problem was a lot of the fans. It seems like the fans weren't really connecting because first of all they're used to the WWE style matches. MMA rules. So it seems like in the arena itself, I don't know what you guys got on air, but in the arena itself. So this is at the point where in between, as soon as the match ended in the battle royal, I knew that was my cue to hit the bathroom right away and get back for the next match, which I did. Um, but in that process, I didn't hear personally of anybody, or whether it be on the screen or nothing was explained about the MMA rules match. Obviously, if you're into MMA, you have to automatically assume that you are winning by knock. You have to win by knocking the person out or submission, right? But not everybody knows that if they don't watch MMA. We didn't know if there was going to be 5 minute rounds or anything like that, which actually would have been pretty cool that they did that. It would have added a more of a authentic MMA feel to it, even though the ring ropes are up. There's no octagon or anything like that. They did a good job by doing the submission moves. It was all submission focused and everything. Obviously, it was planned out. We knew who was coming out the winner here, but the fans just weren't connected. So in the arena, I would say maybe a quarter of the arena was chanting, "This is boring." This match was over. Let's see how long this match took.
about
Uh,
7 minutes, I think.
7.5 minutes. So this is basically your breather match, pretty much. And I guess you could even say the Royal Rumble. I'm sorry, the Battle Royal was a little bit of a cool down match too after the first two matches we got. Um, but yeah, I mean, I felt like it was just there. Maybe we could have done without it. I really don't know. But the right person won regardless. Um, and yeah, moving on. And I think he had mentioned something about the Intercontinental title match. I think he made a comment about that earlier, maybe before we went off the air, went on the air. But we had the Intercontinental title match. Gunther defending his Intercontinental title against Drew McIntyre. I think the results were very obvious here. Drew McIntyre, I'm sorry, Gunther has been Intercontinental champion for over a year now. It's been over a year. He is about a month away from breaking Honky Tonk's record. And WWE on their programming have made it aware, have told you that this record is up for grabs, and they even gave graphics out on it. They put it on TV. So this basically just screamed to me that Gunther wasn't losing this match by any means. Probably one of the best Intercontinental Championship matches I've personally seen in person. I've been to, I don't know, I've been to well over 100 shows live. I've probably been to over 50 pay per views, maybe close to 200 WWE shows. So I can't remember every single Intercontinental title match that I've seen, but I feel like this one might stick out for a while. Greg, your thoughts on this match?
So first of all, Gunther is the ring general is probably
Cool.
one of my favorite wrestlers now. He's one of those guys I think you can throw in any era of wrestling. He would have worked against Bruno Sammartino. He would have worked against Hulk Hogan. He would have worked against Stone Cold. I think he's definitely really great. Like I think you could put him in any era. This is one I think for me was just over expectations. Like I agree with you, it was a great match. But coming off of that three-way from WrestleMania, which I loved between Sheamus, McIntyre, and Gunther, I thought this was going to be the best match of the show. And I guess it was a great match. I just didn't see it as the best match of the show, which I mean, maybe
It
it
was
was just overhyped for me.
close. It was your top three.
Definitely top three, if not top two, even, but close to top three. I mean, it definitely with the Brock match and then the Seth match, I would say those were the three best. But it was really good. I mean, uh, and I agree with you. They're obviously going to have him break the record. I think I still want to see Brock and Gunter. I definitely think that's a match that they have to do down the road. I'd be curious to see where he goes next because, like you said, it was decisive victory. So I almost think Drew has to go heel now after this. You have the baby face like Drew lose, like you said, clean, where it really doesn't set up that rematch between Drew and Gunther. So and I think for Drew, being a heel is probably better because he could then challenge Seth for the title. So I think for Drew going forward, him as a heel probably works out better. But overall, I thought it was a good match. I mean, the crowd really got into it. I also think, and maybe it's different when you're there live, but the beginning part of the match, I don't know if the crowd still had that hangover from the Baszler match because it seemed like the crowd wasn't as into the first couple minutes of it, and
Yeah, it
then
was started. I felt like it started slow. I'd have to try to catch it live to be like give an official judgment on that. But in person, it came off to me as like it started off a little slow in the beginning.
the last few minutes were just great. I mean, that was really really good. The last 3 or 4 minutes of it. So overall, I think it was really. If I had to say, like, if you're judging by the stars, I would say it's at least a 4-star match. So, like I said, the expectations were just like I was through the roof on that, and it was a really good match though.
I enjoyed it. And where they go with Drew McIntyre, I'm not too sure. They could definitely go with the heel turn for Drew and give something for Seth to do. In the meantime, you could definitely have Drew against Seth Rollins in Survivor Series and maybe have Damian Priest cash in there, something like that. But it would. I think Drew McIntyre needs a little bit of a refresh in his character. um, we need a reason why we should be interested in his character again. So I think he could benefit from a heel turn. It would be an opponent for Seth Rollins. Um, but yeah, the match definitely picked up as time went on. We had some really good false finishes. I loved how they went back and forth. I was waiting for it. How they went back and forth with the chest slaps. Um, So good match. I really, really enjoyed it. Um, Gunther's match with Sheamus last year, I believe, Clash at the Castle, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was Clash of the Castle. Yeah, and then
that
they
was
did 3-way at
probably
WrestleMania.
Gunther's best match, and the three-way comes close. I mean, you could argue that as actually being a better match too, as well, if you wanted to. But
And
that
in
triple threat
NXT,
match was good.
in NXT, the match he had with Dragunov, I don't know if you saw that one from NXT. That was a
I
really
gotta
really good
see
match.
that. That's before Gunther came up on the main roster, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because
Gunther's had some great NXT matches.
yes, yes. But yeah, I agree with you. The best match he had in the main roster, and the best match of Sheamus's career that really was incredible for a guy as old as Sheamus is to have the best match of his career this late in his career because he's in his mid to late 40s, I believe. Sheamus, to have that this late in his career was just so impressive. But overall, I mean, this match was great. I'm not trying to take away from it, but I just, the expectations. I think these guys, I don't think could have a bad match. To be honest with you, the two of them. But and I'm sure they could always go back to Sheamus and Gunther again too. Down the road. So.
I mean, honestly, Sheamus seems to me to be the person that needs to beat Gunther. Let Gunther do his honky tonk breaking the record. Let's do that. I'm all for it. But the story that they've been telling all throughout, sprinkled here and there over the past several months, was Sheamus, um, the IC belt being the only belt that Sheamus has never won. WWE made sure to tell that story. So, in my opinion, they got to finish that story with Sheamus. um, and give Sheamus an IC title win in Survivor Series.
That's a great idea. If you go that direction, I think once he breaks the record, he should lose because having these these champions. I mean, it's good because it's reestablished that belt as a pretty as a pretty big title, having that long of a reign. But once he breaks Honky's record, I think it's he should probably lose it either at Survivor Series or the Rumble.
Yeah, it's fair game. And not that I want to necessarily see Gunther lose the title. I mean, I think he's been great. He's elevated that belt. Sometimes a belt elevates a person. Gunther's elevated the belt. I'm expecting Gunther to have a huge 2024, but we'll get more into that. Um, I'm thinking the back half of 2024 at some point. Gunther will be a world champion. Um, but there are a couple things we got to get through first, obviously. The next match that we saw was Finn Balor defending against, Seth Rollins defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. This would be the second time that they're squaring off this year. This feud has been, story has been told stemming back from 2016, I believe. SummerSlam in Brooklyn. I was there for that. I saw Finn Balor win that your the new Universal title belt, the red belt. I was there for that. Unbeknownst to us, news had came out that next day that he was injured, and then I was at that Raw where he had to relinquish the title. So you basically never saw Finn Balor in the title picture ever since. So now they're telling that story about Finn Balor never getting his chance. How Seth Rollins laughed at him when losing the title of uh, what issues and damages it caused Finn Balor to in his life after he lost that match and lost the title because of that injury. Never getting a chance. So here we are. And we saw a great match yesterday in Ford Fields. Um, I would say probably the best match of the night from top to bottom and from beginning to end. I mean, from bell to bell. Great match. Arguably the best match of the night. I think many people would agree. Um, we saw a lot of false finishes and we got some shenanigans. We knew at some point Rhea was going to come out, Dom was going to come out, Damian Priest was going to come out. So, Greg, I'll let you take it from here. What did you think of the match?
So let me just lead by
Are you
Dominic.
happy with how everything unfolded?
Yes, and I just want to lead with Dominic took the best curb stomp that I've ever seen
Yes, on
on
the
the outside.
outside.
Yes, that was the best curb stomp ever. I mean, it was 18 minutes and 26 seconds long, this match, and I think these two are just made for each other. When it comes to like two opponents that are perfectly, matched up against each other. I mean, they have some similar moves. I think they both do the sling blade, and I thought the match was really really strong. The outside interference was well done when it came to the briefcase and throwing it in and then doing the curb stomp, in the finish was a really cool finish for the match. I love this storyline. I mean, going back with the 7 written across his chest. I don't know if you saw that live. That was really cool for them to go. I mean, WWE for a while didn't like to throw back these long-term storylines. All in all, I probably would have been okay with Balor winning because the Judgment Day is pretty cool and pretty hot right now with Dominic and with the Money in the Bank briefcase there. I thought that would have worked, but if Seth's going to hold it, that's fine too. But I think all in all, it was a really good match. I think the Brock Cody's close to being the best match of the night, but this was definitely, if it was second, it wasn't by much. But overall, live, the crowd was really into it. The crowd was really into the finish, and just hats off to both guys for going out there. And again, it's pretty cool that you got to see the full story there, being at both parts live that far apart. So I didn't know that, but being there 7 years apart from each other and seeing the end of the story.
Yeah, and listen, it may not even be the end of the story. I mean, I think this story is going to continue. More so, I think we'll see friction tomorrow night with uh, Finn Balor and Damian Priest. A lot of speculation that Finn Balor is going to be thrown out of Judgment Day. Again, keep in mind, Payback is coming up. So you have to kind of play along to the theme of the pay per view. We alluded to earlier on that possibly Ricochet may want payback against Logan Paul. We'll talk about the main event in a few minutes, not that far off from there. Um, but you got to believe that maybe something could happen on Raw to quite possibly warrant a match at WWE Payback, which would be the next pay per view. I've heard rumors of a triple threat between Seth, Finn, and Damian Priest. How that happens, I don't know. If it's going to be a challenge, maybe the match comes to an end where Priest doesn't win, and then he cashes in and restarts the match. Anything's possible. So I'm not too sure how they do that yet. I feel like the world title is one of those things where you kind of have to enjoy the ride because I really don't. I really this is kind of like a hard to predict the where exactly going to go. I have a strong idea where the WWE Universal title where that's going to go, but not as much on the Monday night side of things. So we'll have to see. But you got to believe that the story is going to continue tomorrow, more so with Finn Balor and Damian Priest probably feuding there. And quite possibly we could get another Seth match in the form of a triple threat. You got to believe quite possibly we'll see Damian Priest and Seth Rollins, depending how they want to do that cash in from there. Where do you think we'll go from here?
First of all, I'll never say no to a Finn Balor and Seth Rollins match because every time those guys wrestle, I think it's money. So I like your idea of a triple threat without it being a cash in. I actually was talking to someone about this earlier today about how I don't know that they've ever done that before where they had the guy with the money in the bank wrestle in a match and then cash it in that night after they lose, or after, if it's a triple threat, somebody else could be pinned. So Balor could be pinned. So I like that idea. So
I
I
don't
think
think it's been done, but
yeah, I don't think it has. Someone could correct us, but I don't remember seeing that before. So
Finn may want a rematch against Seth. Seth gives it to him, but Damian Priest is like, hold up, you lost. I'm inserting myself in this match now. It could be something like that too. So
yeah, or I could see them maybe even doing, if, like you said, if they throw Balor out, maybe they do Balor versus Damian Priest at Payback. So they could go in that direction too, I think.
yeah, very well. It would give something for a Damian Priest and Finn Balor to do. It would be fresh in a way that it would be an added layer to the Judgment Day storyline. There's been rumors of like JD McDonough joining Judgment Day at some point, but they've kind of like he hasn't been on TV in like 4 weeks, so I don't know where that's happening or if that's even a thing anymore.
But Dominic and Rhea Ripley are so good together that I think you got to keep that going.
Yeah, they got to keep the core three. Hopefully they keep Finn together, keep them all together, because I just feel like they got some legs under their storyline with Judgment Day. But you definitely got to keep Priest and especially Rhea and Dom together. It's just been a very good dynamic. Having Rhea with Dominic has essentially helped them both, but more so Dominic is very much benefited. If you take Rhea Ripley out of that equation, that just changes the presentation of Dominic big time. We don't really want that. I don't think it would benefit him. You got to keep them together for now while it's hot.
Yeah, I think eventually you do and I don't know what in this modern era if the networks will allow it, but I think given the China Eddie Guerrero storyline, I'd like to see, and usually I'm not for the men versus women matches, but I think down the line that would be a pretty money match, Rhea versus Dominic, if it's allowed to be done. Uh,
It could be allowed. I mean, Triple H is it's either Triple H or some USA Network have kind of been pushing for a little bit of an edgier product in the later hours of Raws going forward. So I don't know if that's still a thing too, but you could do something like that. I mean, they had Nia Jax like beating up on Dean Ambrose, who's now John Moxley in AEW, but they've had Nia Jax beating up on him, and so they have done very subtly have done some quick intergender stuff, but nothing too crazy. So you could, I mean, Rhea can work with probably any of the guys on there. She's the
Yeah,
closest thing to China that we've seen in 20 years.
yeah, it's good, and she's a much better worker than China was as far as actual match quality.
Yes,
Yeah.
she can move around a lot better. She's not as big and bulky, but she's in great shape. So I think Rhea is in perfect shape. She should not be putting on any more muscle, and this way she'll stay more agile and be able to work better in the ring. Moving on, we had the WWE Raw. Did I say that right? SmackDown Women's Championship. Asuka defending against Bianca and Charlotte. And Greg, we haven't really talked about this, but Charlotte is constantly sniffing around the women's championship all the time, and it is getting annoying. I just need her. I want her to meaningful feud without the title being on the line for a while. They keep saying Charlotte's 14-time championship, 14 time about to beat Ric Flair. And, this is all done within the last 6 years. Some of those championships, Charlotte would lose to Sasha one week and win it back from Sasha the next week and play a hot potato. I'm like, how am I supposed to buy into this?
Well,
I can
I
see
agree with you.
John Cena, he's been with in the organization for almost 20 years now. Love him or hate him, but longevity is what got Cena all these accolades. But the way they're booking Charlotte, like the way they've literally like shoved Charlotte down our throats. Charlotte Reigns is what I like to call her. But they can't they just can't resist. I mean, she's a reliable worker, and I get it. But the fans sometimes we need a little bit of break from that. But triple threat match for the SmackDown Women's Championship, very very sloppy. Charlotte's garments almost fell off, so they had to reset that. It was just very sloppy there, and some of the moves proceeding after that was just not good. What did you think of this match? I mean, we before we go into what happened after that, the aftermath, no pun intended. Um, we see Bianca Belair getting injured, kayfabe injury that is. Um, Asuka and Charlotte went at it. So, like, as the match progressed, it got better. But overall, the first half of this match was very sloppy. The fans were still into it. The fans were into it. Bianca Belair got her win here. But what did you think of this match?
I agree with you. It was about a 20-minute match. I think it was 20 minutes and 46 seconds. So
Yeah,
20 minutes and 45 seconds. So it was very sloppy in the beginning. I completely agree. Sometime in these triple threat matches, I think they try to do too much early on, and I think that's what messed it up. I did think it got pretty good later on. I don't think it was great later on, as far as we'll talk about, like you said, the aftermath. And when we talk about the aftermath, it opened the door to, at least they didn't do something they could have done with Charlotte just to get her that quick win, which probably would have annoyed you even more.
I would have been so pissed.
Because that's what I thought they were going to do.
My buddy who was with me, he does not like Bianca Belair. I don't understand it. I don't grasp it. Why he doesn't like Bianca Belair? She's just built differently. The way she moves around, maybe it's not fluid. She's very athletic, muscly. I don't really never ever see many botches from her, although there have been in the past. But she's got charisma. She's got the look. She can work in the ring. I just don't understand why my friend does not like her at all. And he loves Charlotte to the moon and back. I'm done with Charlotte. Like this, like she's good, she's reliable, and I get that. But sometimes absence, makes the heart grow fonder
Yeah,
for
look at
somebody.
Becky Lynch. She's moved away from the title picture right now, Becky Lynch. So it's pretty similar to what I agree with you as far as moving Charlotte out of the picture. But that at least that didn't happen. So that's my one takeaway from the match is at least they didn't give Charlotte a quick win just to lose it, so
So
she
here's
could
the
break
funny
the
story I was gonna tell you. My friend, he's sat right down after the match was over. He was mad. Bianca Belair was cheering and excited that she won her title. And when that bell rang, my friend was pissed. I told him, I looked at him like, hold on, just hold on, wait a second, let's see what happens here. And sure enough, not even barely seconds later, Io Shirai's music goes. Sorry, I'm so used to saying Io Shirai. Io Sky's music goes off, and I'm popping. Joe's popping because he don't want to see Bianca Belair walking out of there champion. And Bailey comes to the ring. So this is how I thought was going to happen. I thought Bailey was going to screw over Io Shirai, cash in at some point, whether or not be last night or would have been another time. But I figured when Io Sky was going to cash in her title, that cash in for the title, Bailey was going to screw that over, and then they would have a match feud, Bailey versus Io. It did not go that way. In fact, Bailey ran out with Io, helped Bianca. You see Io get a hold of the briefcase, slams Bianca Belair in the knee, then over the head, then gives the briefcase to the referee. She gets up on the middle rope, waiting for the bell to ring, and then hits her moonsault. 1, 2, 3, and we have a new women's champion on the SmackDown side. Io Shirai is your women's champion, and the crowd goes nuts. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all that it happened like that. We even talked about it on our prediction show on our Instagram that there's a possibility that Io is going to cash in, and sure enough, she did. And we have a new women's champion. So now you're gonna have a pissed off Bianca Belair coming out this Friday night, and she's gonna want a rematch, payback, maybe a match with Io next month, 1-on-1. So I would expect Bianca versus Io Sky for the title, and maybe with Asuka wanting her rematch, Charlotte wanting a rematch. So this could turn out to be a 4-way next month for sure.
Yep. And now that we talked about it, so the whole point would have been Charlotte winning, getting her quick 15th title reign, just to lose it again to give her the number 15. So thankfully that didn't happen. Uh,
Oh,
but I think it could be similar to Becky Lynch when Becky Lynch came back and she won the title at SummerSlam, and then that set up the rematch. So I could see that happening right now where Belair gets the quick rematch against Io Sky, and then maybe they move back to one of the other two. But they may do a 4-way, or I could see it just as a straight return match uh, between Belair and Io Sky.
yeah, we have a comment. I think Io should leave Damage Control. Well, listen, at some point, like I thought Damage Control was going to be done. I thought you should do away with it. Um, but apparently, there's a story to tell between Bailey and Io at some point. And then we're gonna get what's her name back? I'm drawing a blank because it's so late. But she showed up on the Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai, yeah.
Yeah, so she. I don't know when she's due back, but apparently there's still legs under the storytelling here.
And then
Yeah.
Bailey has a ready-made feud, and I think Bailey's gonna get her head shaved. So that's
Oh
where that's gonna
gosh.
wind.
Oh, I hope not.
Yes,
Oh no.
yes, I think that's where it's gonna. It has to go
Oh
there.
my
I mean,
gosh. They cannot do that. Oh, and I get why. I understand why Shotzi shaved her head, and I get that, but it doesn't look good. It does not look good. I hope Shotzi grows her hair back as quick as possible. Like, just think of what happened in WrestleMania 20. Um, what's her name? Got her head shaved. Molly Holly. It just looks so bad. I don't want to see it. Oh, I cannot picture Bailey without hair. I mean, her hair looks fine now, but when she first cut it, I mean, she just looked like a Karen.
well,
It
you can
just
get
was not, this is
you can do
not good.
the old gimmick with the wrestling headgear and the wig that Kurt Angle did. You could
Oh,
throw that
oh
in there
my
for a while.
gosh.
I think
You
it's
could.
I think
Oh
that's where it's
man.
headed. I think that's where I think as far as what's going to come next. I know we're going to get into that, but I'm pretty
Oh,
sure that's
that's
where they're
so
going.
true. That is so true. That could absolutely happen, and that's what I'm afraid of. Is I don't want to see Bailey with their head shaved. I don't want to see anyone with their head shaved. I mean, listen, there are legit reasons why that happens, and I get that. But to proactively cut your hair, I just don't know. I don't. Oh no. Oh, I don't want to see that. So Io Sky is your women's champion. Not too much of a shock, but we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna jump right into the main event, and then we'll talk really quick on the long term, and then we'll wrap it up. But we have Roman Reigns versus defending his title against Jey Uso. For anybody that thought that Jey Uso was winning the title, oh, why? This was the writers on the wall. Jey Uso's not your main event guy. He's not going to move the needle. Uh, I thought it was just an absolute asinine notion to even think. It wasn't even a thought that Jey Uso was going to win this title. Not even a thought. Considering what I've been talking about on this podcast for 6 months now, of where I believe this is headed, I just think there are better options for this. And the booking of this match um, was rather interesting as well, because I feel like we backtracked in this booking a little bit. Um, so now we this match was so long, 11:10 at night. The music goes off. The entrances were about 20 minutes long. The match itself was 36 minutes. This is why I'm tired right now. Everything was an hour between entrances, and a lot of wasted time here for sure. In my opinion, the match felt like it dragged. People like myself were a little bit tired, but here, even 36:05, the match itself was after 20 minutes worth of entrances and video packages that we've seen a million times. The match was dragging at certain points. We saw some cool spots. That, of course, Solo came in. No surprise at all. They teased a little bit of dissension between Solo and Roman, which lasted a hot minute, and that was it. Then we get a very familiar looking, from my point of view, we see a guy in black and skinny guy, and I figured it's probably Jimmy Uso. I was not shocked by it at all. What shocked me though, what kind of surprised me, is that Jimmy turning on Jey Uso. Now they're gonna have to explain this on Friday. This is gonna drag the storyline of the bloodline even more. Um, which I believe is going to lead to a Jimmy versus Jay match. Some people saying at WrestleMania. No, that is not happening at all. That's too long from now. I'm thinking we're going to see it at Payback as well. Yeah, Jimmy versus Jay would be great. Good thing that one person has short hair and one person has long hair. This way I could tell them apart. Maybe this has been a plan for a very long time to get to this brother versus brother. And after what happened the past couple months and last night, you can't go back to Usos forming a tag team anytime soon at all. So Jimmy turns on Jay. Apparently, Jimmy's staying with the bloodline. We'll see the fallout. Uh, Roman retains his title as expected. Um, I think. Did you think that Jay was going to win this one?
No, I
I
didn't think
think.
there was
I
a
think. I
chance.
think.
No.
If you're a smart wrestling fan, you would know the writing is on the wall that Jay wasn't going to win this, and where they're possibly going with Roman Reigns over the next couple months. Before we get into that, what did you think of the match? How the match was? How did it come off on TV? And how do you feel about the way everything unfolded with Jimmy turning on Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off with the positives. Is that they've established Roman where when he enters, I know his entrance is long, but for the first time in a really long time, they have a guy that is far and away the main event of the show, and that's Roman when he comes out. But with Jey Uso not being a believable contender, going 36 minutes was a complete mistake because the crowd knew that he wasn't going to win. The crowd knew there was going to be interference coming, so they were waiting for that. So I wish they would have kept it a little bit short because the match got pretty good after I would say probably 25, 26-minute mark. So basically, if anybody didn't watch the show, I would just fast forward to 26 minutes into this main event, and you probably see enough there. And as far as seeing the finish, I think it's interesting. Jimmy versus Jey Uso. I could see them doing before they move to that. Bring in because they have gone full circle with Sami Zayn and KO, so I could see them doing a 6-man with Jey Uso, Zayn and KO versus Jimmy, Roman, and Solo Sikoa. As far as a 6-way goes, since they've told that story with both Zayn, KO, and Jay versus Reigns, and doing a 6-man there, I think that could help bridge the gap as we go down. Now, the one thing I'll say about brother versus brother in WWE, brother versus brother hasn't always been good. Like we remember Owen Hart versus Bret Hart as a great feud, but for every Bret and Owen, I mean, Jeff and Matt Hardy did not light the world on fire when they did the feud. So I'm hoping it'll be good, Jimmy and Jay, and I do think it's a good time to acknowledge what a great run they had as a tag team. As far as in WWE, I mean, they've had an incredible run.
Yeah,
But overall, I mean, it was an okay match. But the beginning, I thought, just dragged. I'm sure being there live, being tired, it dragged on. But I think it did come together in the finish, and like
yeah,
you said, you're just kind of bridging the gap for where we think they're headed for WrestleMania.
yeah. So I've been saying it for months, and I'm gonna say it again and again. Cody Rhodes is winning the Royal Rumble in 2024. This will enable him to go to the other brand, SmackDown, and challenge Roman Reigns for the title that WWE and Cody Rhodes has consistently hinted the fans that finishing the story would be winning the WWE Championship that Roman Reigns is holding right now. Not necessarily the world title, although Cody Rhodes has a respect for the world title on Raw, but he has gone on to say a number of times on the Peacock documentary, his interviews with Sean Ross Sapp, saying that finishing the story would be winning the WWE Championship, the championship that his dad has never won. And that is what they've been feeding us for months. Now, granted, there is always the chance that WWE could get The Rock versus Roman Reigns. If WWE gets the opportunity to get The Rock, they could do a match there, or maybe intertwine them into the storyline somehow. Um, but or maybe as some kind of a support system to support Cody Rhodes should there be interference. If WWE has the opportunity to get The Rock for WrestleMania 40, they will, which could potentially change the plans. But as of now, the story that makes the most sense, and WWE's gone out of the way to tell you, and Cody Rhodes saying, finish the story, finish the story. We've been hearing this for months now. Reading in between the lines, I think this championship, the plan is in place tentatively for Cody to win the Rumble, challenge Reigns, win WrestleMania 40 main event, confetti everywhere, red, white, blue, golds, American Nightmare colors, and that's how we go off the air. Cody winning the championship, then let him have a run till SummerSlam and Survivor Series, and let's get Gunther that championship in 2024 in the later part of next year. That's where I can see it going. First things first, I believe WrestleMania 40 is Cody's. That belt is going on Cody. I think he's going to be the one to beat Reigns. There's no bigger stage for Roman Reigns to lose the title here than WrestleMania 40.
And like you said, they teased the Solo Sikoa Reigns turn, so I think you probably see that at Survivor Series or the Rumble, where the next couple months they'll probably finish that turn. So Solo will have his title shot.
Yeah, I think I don't think they would jump at the bid to throw a championship on Solo right away, but I think it would be a great opportunity to have Solo against Roman Reigns just to see what Solo could do.
Just as long as it doesn't go 36 minutes.
Yeah. But it seems to me Cody Rhodes is the guy for WrestleMania. Keep in mind, I don't really think about WrestleMania's 1 as much, but WrestleMania 10, new generation, Bret Hart defeated Yokozuna in a big stage, 10-year anniversary. WrestleMania 20, kick off another 10 years. Chris Benoit defeating Triple H and Shawn Michaels. He won his first ever, well, I think he was WCW title, WCW champion for a minute. But then think about WrestleMania 30. I called that months in advance of how they should do. Once I saw Daniel Bryan get screwed, I felt that there was going to be that was going to lead to WrestleMania, and WWE did everything they can not to let it go that way. But the fans spoke up, and WWE could not overlook the fact that Daniel Bryan was white hot, and they gave it to him. Confetti everywhere for the second straight 10-year anniversary. WrestleMania 10, WrestleMania 20, and now WrestleMania 30. So I don't see WrestleMania 40 being any different. It's a huge anniversary. WrestleMania, 40 years. They're going big. There's no way to go bigger than having Roman Reigns drop it to Cody Rhodes or whoever that they have planned to be, their next big guy. But in my opinion, it's going to be Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 40. What do you think?
I agree completely that it'll be Cody, and
I feel like the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, that throwback is pretty cool to, WrestleMania 10, WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 30, and then WrestleMania 40 finish the story. I mean, I have to give WWE credit because I've pretty much fallen into the trap of every one of these big shows. I thought the other guy should have won, and I've been proven wrong. Like when it was Drew and Reigns, I looked at the crowd that night, and I said Drew should win, and then Reigns won, and look, it's just gotten bigger and bigger. Then when it was Sami Zayn versus Reigns, I thought Sami should have won, and he didn't. And then at WrestleMania this year, I thought Cody should have won. So to their credit,
a lot of people saying Cody should have won.
Yeah, and they've kept it going. Yeah, and you know they did a good job. I know you question like it's questionable like why the feud began, but at least he won the feud against Brock Lesnar. And if you went back to Stardust, because think about it, they were in WWE at the same time, and you told me that Stardust was going to go over on a feud on Brock Lesnar, I would have said you're crazy. And
Oh,
now here we
absolutely.
are, a decade later almost, and that's what happened. And
Yeah.
it's heated him, it's kept him hot, and I think that's probably the like you said. Obviously, if they could get The Rock, then that makes sense to bring The Rock in. But WrestleMania is 2 nights, so if you get The Rock, you could do The Rock and Reigns one night, and Cody versus the winner the next night if he wins the Rumble. So you could do The Rock and
Yeah.
Reigns, and then Cody and versus the winner who will be Reigns, and then now Cody just looks even bigger. So
Yeah, I mean, you could do like defending the tribal chief name, um, where Roman Reigns puts the tribal chief uh, plastic lay on the line, and you could do like the head of the table, like a match of who's going to be the head of the table. You could do something like that, and then Reigns defending the title on another night. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You could definitely do something like that. Um, so that basically covers all of SummerSlam talk that we got today. We definitely covered a lot. Those of you guys that are watching, if you haven't watched the whole show, go back to the beginning. We covered all the matches. So just a couple of things really quick to highlight what we may have not covered. We had the Street Profits on SmackDown the other night. What appears to be a heel turn, but then you see them get to the top of the ramp and join Bobby Lashley on SmackDown, and the fans are cheering Bobby Lashley like he's over. So they're gonna have to figure that out. We got Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, the match that we thought was gonna be at SummerSlam, which made the most sense to do there. Apparently, that is going to be happening very soon in about a week or two on Raw. And another thing that we have going on, Michael Cole switching to Raw with Wade Barrett and Corey Graves and Kevin Patrick are going to SmackDown, where Michael Cole will be. Rumors are flying around. Michael Cole saying that he was going to retire, maybe a couple of years from now, not very long. But then all of a sudden, he's doing double the workload. So he'll be on Raw and SmackDown. And Michael Cole's been doing his best work of his career now that Vince McMahon's not in his years. Vince McMahon's going to be out for a little bit of a while, with spinal surgery that he just had. And he just has a whole bunch of allegations against him going on. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. For all I know, he's laid up in his hospital bed trying to make changes to this tomorrow night's script. Who knows? Like Vince McMahon just we wouldn't be where we are today in the wrestling world without Vince. But there comes a point in time, and that time is long past, where Vince needs to pass the torch. Uh, and Triple H, we need minds that are more in sync with the wrestling business, that are not out of touch, running the show. Because right now the product's hot, so you got to ride that momentum and go from there. Greg, if you don't mind, hang with me for an extra minute or two after. But guys, thank you so much for joining and watching. Please share this with your friends, your family, your dog, whoever you got to share this with, just to kind of get the word out that we are here. We cover all the pay-per-view post shows, and we do our podcast shows whenever we can. Hoping to get another episode out next week with Tommy, get his perspective too on SummerSlam and the events that will occur tomorrow night and Friday, as we will definitely be seeing the backlash of what happened from Sunday. So we're going to see continuation of feuds. I'm excited. But those of you guys that are watching, thank you so much, and we will see you soon.